How did you first get involved at movie making or visual producing?
Well, I knew I wanted to be part of it since I was a little girl. I just wanted to be part of the media in some sort of way, and visual effects kind of happened to me in that I had the opportunity to meet some people from Industrial Light and Magic, and I started their intern program there, and that's how I got involved and sort of have been involved ever since.
How'd you get involved in the movie Titanic?
Well, I had worked on The Abyss as a production assistant and started out very early in my career, and made friends with Jim Cameron's staff and that kind of thing, and kind of always stayed in touch with them. And every once in a while when I moved to Los Angeles, I ran into Jim Cameron once or twice at some different events or whatever. And then it really felt like out of the blue, I got this phone call that said, we want you to come do Titanic and help us work on this movie.
Yeah. Did you think it was going to be that big?
Right.
Never did anybody think it was going to win Best Picture and top grossing
Yeah,
film of all
yeah.
things. How did you?
I don't think any of us, including Jim or
Yeah.
John Landau or anyone, could have predicted or did predict the kind of success the movies had. We certainly hoped we all hoped it would do well. And when I started to see the images when I was working on the picture, I realized I thought we had something very special. So when sometimes we were hearing some of the bad press, we'd go in and we'd see these images and we'd just think to ourselves, they have no idea, what we're creating.
Yeah.
And so everybody's completely overwhelmed and thrilled at the way it's reached people. Well, what I actually did was, in the case of Titanic, I was Jim Cameron's visual effects producer. So what happened is the companies would submit, I would be part of hiring all the companies, with the exception of Digital Domain, who did the primary groundbreaking work on the film.
Yeah.
They had had a previous long-term relationship with Jim Cameron and had been working on the film for a while prior to my coming on the picture. But for any of the other 17 or so houses that we had join the picture and do work for us, that was all handled through my office and working directly with Cameron and taking his comments and approving work and making sure it was right and all of those things.
Yeah.
I actually joined the film. I had gone down to visit the set a couple of times through friends and things, but the actual shooting of the movie had completed when I came on the picture. So he was really busy with the editing and the sound. I mean, once you finish the shooting, then there's a whole myriad of the orchestra and the sound effects and the sound design and the editing and the composing and all those things. And so, but what he did was visual effects were a very high priority for him to be very active in. And so what he did was we would meet with him twice a day, each time for a few hours. So his day would start at about noon and end at about 6 o'clock in the morning, where he would do meetings from about noon until 11 or so at night. And then from 11 to 6 in the morning, Jim Cameron was one of the editors on the film, so he would edit all night long. Meanwhile, we would prepare what we'd kind of call the Jim Cameron shows,
Yeah.
and we would put these together, one for when he first started his day at noon and one for about 7 o'clock. And review all the work extensively. And then every once in a while he'd call me and say, Camille, what's up with this or what's happening with that. But most of the time we were able to cover everything in those 2 chunks of time.
What was your impact on the movie?
I was overwhelmed. I was really thrilled to see it and felt hugely blessed to be part of it. And the first time I saw the film was a very small screening of just a few people, and Jim Cameron and some of the actors and the composer and everybody sort of sitting in this little room watching the movie. And at the end of it, I literally was so affected. I couldn't stop crying.
Wow.
It really impacted me in ways I never expected it to.